Welcome friends. Now we are reaching to a situation wherein we will be understanding how social media has become one of the most important modes of integrated marketing communication or advertising or communication for that matter. Starting from in this particular segment wherein we have been focusing upon database marketing, database communication I should say, digital communication. Now we are going for social media based communication, which is a part of digital communication, but it has, as I told you last time also, it has become so elaborate, it has become so widely accepted, so detailed in terms of its elements, in terms of its usage, in terms of its evolving perspective with reference to the resonance it is generating and definitely advertising usefulness. It has become so wide that it is a focus of almost every advertiser, every marketer, because consumers are so intensely associated with this now. So let's look into a very mesmerizing world of social media. Although I assume that all of you are well aware of social media as users, but let's look into the communication perspective with reference to marketers' usefulness of social media. So let me take you to social media advertising, or should I say digitally enabled advertising, which traverses through social media. You see, social media advertising is related to advertisements, messages, communications served to users on the related platforms. We all know about that: Facebook, Instagram and so on. And why is it so important? As I was saying, because of reach and response, and the levels of reach and levels of response, and the instant character of response. You see, in today's world, when we all want that someone should respond to whatever we are saying immediately, same way the marketer also looks forward to such kind of a thing actually. And the other bigger element of social media's relevance is associated with it being a networked kind of a space, wherein we do not know ultimately where my communication would reach if I am a user, and if someone is targeting me as a marketer, then through me how that communication would flow further, because I would become a carrier of flowing that communication to others. And you see, it's an experience you would be having, that somehow networks they grow. Although now people have started saying that they are exiting out of social media also, but that proportion is extremely minimal. So that is again a different kind of a side of social media. But as far as the present contemporary scenario goes, with a marketer's point of view, the relevance is ever growing, because the number is ever growing, and which is actually now traveling into millions and millions. See, the context of social media is you tell me, I tell you, and then you tell others and I will also do that. So we will keep on flowing this thought to several people kind of. And why do I want to wish for that? Because I do wish to tell people actually. See, it's an honest desire of everyone to tell people something. It's a very important habit of my scholars and students to post on what kind of papers they have published recently on LinkedIn, for example, kind of. So that's amazing. Although I don't know how many people read those research papers from LinkedIn, but it has become a very important, and then they start congratulating each other. Now that is very interesting basically, that gives you happiness, and I will come to that. So that is where so you tell it further, that is the objective, and why not to pass it on. Although there are some misuses, misusage associated with as far as the social media platforms go, but let us not talk about that. Here we are just focusing upon integrated marketing communication and communication per se. So, you see, advertisers are aware of this habit. They understand that how people are, advertisers themselves are users, or let us say consumers at one point of time. They are also using social media. They understand, and you see, being humans, all of us do understand what human behavior is largely, although it is a matter of subject to be studied by everyone now and then. So, you see, they know that the customers are getting connected, which is actually developing a strength of number along with reference and influence. And remember that this is what we have always wanted, our consumers becoming promoters and advocates. So it, marketers want that thing to be traversing further actually. And what best can be wherein you put up a message and someone become an influencer who carries forward that message. Then further we are getting to know how is saying what and can we change our message on that basis. You see, the point is that because we are getting immediate response, so how can we change that message? We get that indication, or should we be changing the perspective of the consumer by let us say intensifying that message, or let us say recreating that message, or putting up a newer words, or using some other influence associated with those kind of consumers and so on. So, it's whole lot of a matter of analytics and continuous watch, but continuous watch is an imbibed kind of a factor associated with social media because response is immediately generated. The point here is that why to advertise on social media? You see, why is social media advertising one of our best advertising bets? Because of quick ROI. Yes, with a marketer's perspective, return on investment or return on advertising expenditure, should I say, is one of the most important elements which he is the marketer is marking upon. Because ultimately we have talked about this in budget section. Ultimately the importance is that you create a structure around integrated marketing communication modes, wherein you derive best out of it with reference to returns, the achievement of your objectives with the least possible cost. Social media is definitely adding value to that, because not only in terms of number of people you touch upon, the overall responsibility which social media now is carrying, as far as the complementary role in whole of the integrated marketing communication perspective goes, is becoming larger and larger, and that actually rationalizes the returns in terms of advertising expenditure goes. You see, most channels, they require significant lead time, and we all know that. So here it is an instant kind of a perspective. Some channels yield quick results, but not day in day out, and then you see, and then those results are also not continuous over time actually. And here you put up a post, you get a response, then you put up a post, you get up a response, and I am not talking of social media. Here the marketer is looking at wherein you are continuously communicating, and marketer is infusing his message along with your communication, imbibing that in association with your communication, or customizing just for few people who are communicating with each other, or whichever way that best can reach to your minds actually. He has all the abilities and all the facilities for doing that thing, or customizing that thing. Some channels are consistent but time consuming to as far as reach to the consumer and then bring out the results and evaluation and monitoring and so on. Although here I would certainly say that none of the modes of integrated marketing communication are completely replaceable, but definitely, as I have been repeatedly saying, that prominence and centrality of few of the modes has always come up in due course of time, and social media is definitely one of those. Now, why do you post actually? And here it says that psychology of social media, you may call it psychology related to social media, perspective related to social media. Psychology is a very heavy word basically when we are talking of consumer behavior. So, it is an all encompassing kind of thing. So, do not just get imaginative in terms of what does it implies, but look, it's a specific term, but look at it with the perspective of how we look at social media actually. You see, and then the question comes in, why do you post? The most simple answer to that is that people love to talk about themselves. You see, every morning you feel like telling someone about even whatever you would have dreamt in the night, or you would have caught up some cold basically because somehow the weather changed instantaneously somehow, and you slightly got caught unaware basically, and you did not realize that you were walking without a cap, and suddenly the wind started blowing in. So that happens, and your mother told you that you should not be wearing t-shirt, you should be wearing half sweater along with the t-shirt, but still you do not feel like, because your youthful feeling hampers that, why should I be looked upon in a sweater in slightly sunny day basically, because what would my peer group say, that am I getting old? But it is not true for me. I do not mind wearing a half jacket in this kind of a weather. It is November after all, and Roorkee is quite cold. So, you see, people love to talk about themselves, and this number increases when we post or talk on social media, and this flow also increases, because when you suggest something about, someone would definitely react to it. For example, even people might congratulate you on something basically when you say that I feel happy this morning, so they would say good morning and congratulations that you are feeling happy. You may, and a marketer is noticing that you are happy. So, marketer puts up a message which is related to your happiness actually. You may say that there was some strenuous dream which I went through, and the conversation starts around that. Probably at that specific time some message comes to you that how to sleep healthily in the night time actually. That is how So, this is where marketer is actually looking for to infuse in his presence along with the products he may have in with reference to what you are feeling at that particular moment. Why do people wish to talk? You see, there are things to be taken care of while talking face to face, and I'm saying, why do people wish to talk on social media? So, you see, face to face you have to go through several kinds of expression controls. You have you keep on monitoring on the reactions of people would have towards whatever you are saying. Sometimes we feel perplexed on the kind of, because the kind of reaction we are expecting from others and they are not extending that reaction, we feel subdued on I'm telling such a beautiful thing and the person is not charmed about that. So, you are not, because you are not giving the person to a slight window or a time to react. On social media you have thrown something, the person would definitely look into it with a perspective, and they may react abruptly, but they would be conscious in using specific words, and that is how that particular presence and still absence when we are not in front of each other directly is quite helpful. So, while you are online, you have time to construct and refine. That is how you can express that, and this is one of the most important elements of social media which is relevant for marketers, because that specific time frame actually channelizes the complete structure of responses, and wherein that relevance of communication comes in. You see, there are several studies which have been done, because this has become so widely acceptable at large, so many people have got associated with social media. So, a study stated that Facebook can increase your self-esteem because unlike a mirror which reminds us of who we really are, is it bad? No, 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 it's not that bad. Mirror gives you a good feeling after all, but not every time, not every time. I don't know what kind of a feeling I get when I look at a mirror every morning, but yeah, it's not bad, I could say. But you see, that study says that many people would have responded that way. That's why this study is saying that unlike a mirror which reminds us of who we really are and may have a negative effect on self-esteem if that image does not match with our ideal. Now, Facebook can show a positive version of ourselves. That is what Jeffrey Hancock from Cornell University has published in one of his papers. So that is an interesting finding, and definitely true in many cases if we look around. And you see, one of the most prominent ways we tend to work on self presentation is through things, buying things and acquiring things that signify who we are. Now, that is our yearning, which is monitored and understood by marketer through several kinds of researches, one of which I have just mentioned, and there comes in the relevance of the messages which marketer extends. So, why do you post is an important thing for a marketer to understand, which they do very well. Now, reciprocity. Now, it has an effect actually. Why do we all like posts on social media? You see, Instagram or any other mode you may like are examples of reciprocal conversation, reciprocity, wherein receiving a tag or direct message makes you feel compelled to send one back, and any time you receive a like on your profile, you would wish to reciprocate in some way, whether it is sharing something in return, signing up for an email list, etc., whichever way kind of. And it is expected by the person who has posted something. So, probably a person posts a photograph, person expects that there are some reactions, and then person extends another reaction, or from that side some other photograph comes in, and the sequence goes on, and it gets you entertained basically, and you forget about the weather, what is all around, or you see. And social media usage definitely due course of time in COVID period has suggested that people have been grossly engaged in such kind of activities, because that became a mainstay of keeping themselves motivated, wherein they got this feeling that they are along with their near and dear ones, though at different places. That is an important thing which we have seen in due course of time. Now, why it happens? Because you see, people do want to maintain relationships, people do want to remain connected after all basically. I do not know about relationships, it is again a wider term, but they want to remain connected fundamentally. And you see, when we like each other's posts, we add value to the relationship and reinforce the closeness. We want to strengthen that kind of a feeling. I happen to have been sending messages through SMS on festivals to my elders, or let us say near and dear ones. But nowadays I do not get many responses on SMS, because people tell me that they could not see my SMS because they are not anymore in a habit of watching for SMS, nowadays they are more on social media. Now, you see, I have raised this aspect, why? Because instantaneous response wherein you do not have to make lots of efforts create the further relevance of as far as modes go. That is one part. The second part is that in today's parlance, messaging, you see, sending an SMS is wherein you type a message and then the other person responds to it after understanding that, and marketer cannot make use of it largely. So, marketer cannot make use of it largely, but marketer can just look into those messages and profile those and send you one message associated with that. But as far as this social media perspective goes, there you see that response intensity, the quick element actually gives a scope for marketer to look into it. On the other side, marketers are becoming reasons for propelling or motivating you to further communicate actually. You see, marketer is not just an intruder, or let us say, or not just someone who wants to take advantage of the situation. Marketer is actually now supporting that situation as well, because once you are communicating with each other and some message related to your profile comes to you, that makes the communication more attractive somehow, and marketer is playing a positive role here. You see, some musical video comes in due course of time from some marketer. For example, you are communicating on Facebook and Facebook suddenly puts up an ad from their own side on that particular moment. You feel happy about it, and you see, you feel motivated that you are getting a positive communication from some other side as well. That is what marketers do. So, you see, then you create reciprocity by feeling obliged to give back to people who have given to us, even in smaller way, and you want even to develop the scale of that reciprocity. Then there is an element of following the herd. You see, you assume that people surrounding you possess more knowledge about a situation and you follow their lead. Yes, that is a very important element. You want endorsements, and you see, whole lot of websites, they are based on feedback, endorsements and so on, but in social media endorsements are immediate and quick, and if people start giving you responses and you tend to get endorsed by their thoughts, it strengthens up, and if people have a particular view on a particular thing, basically you tend to follow that, because that makes you feel secure that so many people are associated with that. Although this may have a slightly negative connotation of herd mentality, but again the point is that is how we humans are. We feel secure in groups, in larger groups, or if we are thinking the same way as larger number of people are thinking actually. So, now it could be in the form of celebrity endorsements, experts approval, users testimonials, or wisdom of crowd and friends, that this thing is right. That is why I have seen people posting upon that, I am using this product, what do you have to say about this, or I am thinking to buy this, what do you think, what do you have in mind about this, and people start putting up their experiences, and that actually makes a marketer customize their message or re-emphasize the thought if somehow it is negative, if and to strengthen their thought if somehow it is positive, and so on. And this is the reason before purchasing products online, people prefer to read online reviews also. IMDb is utilized as a measurement criteria in terms of watching shows and movies and so on. I do not know how specifically relevant it is. It's a methodology wherein you rate programs and television, and people like me from academics, we have been participating in developing such kind of measurement criteria. But again the point is that particular number, that IMDb is 7, 7.5 or 8, it works for people actually, they just happen to click that show, then that is all. Then for example, McDonald's use social proof by adding in their communication billions and billions served. Now that is again you see number associated with as far as endorsements go. Then comes in frequency illusion, tendency to notice instances of a particular phenomena once one starts to look for it, and to therefore believe erroneously that the phenomena occurs frequently. Erroneously might be an overstepping as far as the whole statement goes, but we do start believing that the phenomena occurs frequently. So if you do not like that this is erroneous, but still you would like that this happens. So now marketers communicate on social media, they communicate on social media by showing their message repeatedly once the frequency illusion kicks in. Why am I saying frequency illusion? For this you may refer to texts and books wherein illusions are explained, and one of my favorite examples, definitely I have been repeatedly saying, is Thinking Fast and Slow, wherein illusions are explained. So once the illusion comes to fore, so every message will raise positive brand awareness, and it will germinate trust from the viewer's point of view. Loss aversion, and I named Daniel Kahneman. This is the precise reference which we have used from Tversky and Kahneman 1979, wherein prospect theory explains it. So, prospect theory is a behavioral model that that introduced the concept of loss aversion. We are attuned towards loss aversion actually. With loss aversion, people tend to place a greater emphasis on a loss compared to a gain of equal value, and that is how we are made up. That is how our thought process is, and marketers do know that. They customize their message accordingly, and then they put up the message across social media, and that is how things start going in. You see, now by now I want you to start imagining that how it starts working actually, and then by now I want you to go to one of your chosen social media sites and start communicating with someone on something basically, and then start realizing what we are talking about. You see, customers, they seek frictionless experience and are more reluctant to give up what they have. They are not temporarily offering free services or products solely out of altruism. So, you see, customers seeking frictionless experience are more reluctant to give up what they have than to exert effort to acquire something new. And that is why a lot of tech solutions and entertainment platforms extend free and temporary offerings. And they are not temporarily offering free services or products solely out of altruism, of course. It is a trade-off to provide consumers value by negating loss aversion and increasing future customer retention and customer lifetime value, which we have talked about earlier. Goal gradient hypothesis suggests that a conjecture which implies that animals run faster as they approach a food source. There is a paper by Clark Hull, although there is a disclaimer that I am not suggesting in any ways that we humans also behave in a similar fashion, but you see, it's a psychological perspective that whenever we are reaching near to our goals, our speed gets enhanced. So, he might have studied specific behavior in some kinds of species, but you see that somehow is relevant when you watch someone sprinting in a field, in a race, in a longer race or a shorter race. Goal when comes near to us, we speed up. In general also, you drive on a highway and you are reaching near to your station basically, probably your speed would slightly increase, it would not reduce, and that is a general behavior. So just look at it that way, that it's a finding from a research, and then try to imagine. You see, and here when we are talking of goal gradients, so how do marketers shorten buying cycle? How do they increase conversion rates on their websites? By showing the end goal. And as I used this example once earlier as well, that once you are going for some hotel booking and they start saying that only 2 rooms left. So and you are just nearing to materializing that booking. So you will start speeding up as far as the process goes. Same happens in airlines booking as well, the ticket booking, because somehow they would say that price is for this period only. And then if you will come back, then price would have increased, and you are just about to reach to as far as finalizing your deal goes, and these kind of statements and messages, they start coming in. This is just a perspective which I am extending in front of you. Now you see, consumers are neurologically wired to meet desirable objectives through gamified tasks, especially when the end is in sight. Earlier newspapers, to increase their sales, used to offer coupons in their pages, and this collection led to a small prize in the end also, and that somehow is related to what we are discussing, the gamified tasks, an end in the sight. Starbucks and other customer service leaders offer points intermittently in their marketing campaigns through digitalized means. So these are relevant aspects on as far as the goal gradient perspective goes. So goal is in front of you and you start speeding up, and social media, because of its speedy response related kind of an element associated with it, goal gradient kind of perspective is also very important understanding, which enables marketers to communicate with their prospective buyers. So I will stop this session here, and I will come back with different avenues of ad posts on social media in the next session. Till then, goodbye.